Hello, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. I'm going to read just above this camera here, and this is pre-recorded because I'm actually out there with you all at this rolling rally style VCDL lobby day. So my name is Jared, and I operate Guns and Gadgets. Guns and Gadgets is a YouTube channel centered on one of the things that we are all here to celebrate today, the Second Amendment. One thing my channel prides itself on is alerting we the people on the relentless attacks by government to fundamentally change the structure and values that America was founded on. We now live in a time where politicians legislate based on crowd chants and signs held at protests and or riots. Our elected officials no longer care about what their constituents want, but what leads them to a victory in the next election, the next special interest deal, the next paycheck. Congress members are more concerned with photo ops than honoring their oaths by protecting and defending the Constitution of the United States of America, and subsequently our way of life. Community activists now lead these politicians around by a leash, telling them what to do, what to say, and even what bills to submit. They often ensure that their demands are met by using the almighty dollar or even the more powerful cancel culture. Michael Bloomberg and George Soros, among others, spend tens of millions of dollars of their own money to carry out a very dangerous agenda. Their narrative is one of a new world order where big government tells their subjects what they can or cannot do and how to do it. Pressure has mounted on the shoulders of selectmen, city councilors, mayors, and governors to the point where some of them now feel free to blatantly violate our rights without any remorse. Excuses are given for violating the rights to assemble, the right to free speech, the right to pursue happiness by working or running your own business, and yes, even the right to keep and bear arms. Citizens in several states even had to sue their governors and attorneys generals in federal court to force them to remove their illegal executive orders. We need to be aware that this is their new normal. One where they can strip you of your rights because of a virus, force you into bankruptcy, or cause you to lose your home because of inflated statistics that are shaped to further their agenda. Now, I believe that strong people speak their mind out loud, and you're seeing that with these great speakers today. But far too often, our collective voices are ignored by our elected leaders. And for far too long, we have considered ourselves the silent majority. What has that gotten us? Well, for starters, it has helped to fracture our very way of life. Far too often now, major decisions are made based off of a knee-jerk reaction to an event that causes the mass emotions to explode. What our society has evolved into is a bunch of people who are so worried about what their followers think about their latest tweet or the number of likes that their last picture on Instagram has received. We are now in a time where a differing opinion than that of the emotional majority can get you shamed, fired from your job, or even murdered. Over the last 30 to 40 years, the amount of people who no longer truly value our rights as American citizens has grown exponentially. To those of us gathered here today, that is unimaginable, but it is reality. We consider ourselves patriots. We love this country down to its very fabric. Many of us have served this great country or have had family members who have served. Sadly, more and more people don't understand this. They don't understand the sacrifices made, nor do they value the lives lost. But some of the choices that we made or have gone along with during our lifetime have helped to grow this group of people who have a socialist and progressive view or agenda. What shocked me the most was realizing that most of this was done unknowingly or unwillingly on our parts. We simply did what every parent looks to do to keep our children safe. Now, let me try to explain. When I think back to when I was very young, we used to ride big wheels and bicycles down hills, over jumps, and we all had a lot of fun. Sure, we'd wipe out every now and then, get some nicks, some cuts, maybe even leak a little, but we didn't die. And for many, it was a rite of passage. Fast forward a few years, and the younger kids that took our places suddenly now looked like spacemen. Helmets, wrist braces, elbow pads, knee pads. This became the new way to keep kids safe. All attempts at reducing the nicks and scrapes and cuts and bumps and bruises because we wanted to shield our kids from the ills of the world. At least, their world at the time. Like I said, perhaps unintentional, but parents wanted to keep little Billy or little Susie free from the pains of the real world. That has played a major role in where we are as a nation today. Another example, when we were young, our parents would basically kick us out of the house for the entire day, saying, go out and play. As long as they had a general idea of where we would be and who we were going to be hanging around with, we had one hard rule to follow, and that was to be home when the streetlights came on. It worked, and for the most part, we all turned out okay. In doing that, we learned how to coexist with actual physical people. People who we didn't always see eye to eye with. We played, we argued, we fought, we made up. There was a tremendous value in that. That taught us so many intangible things that would prove to be the pillars of becoming a man or a woman who knew the value of respect, honor, trust, integrity, and most importantly, when to keep our mouths shut. If not, we often learn the hard way, and sometimes learning the hard way is the best way. Fast forward again to a time when a single item hit mainstream America. This item fundamentally changed that peer interaction that taught so many generations how to communicate and to be empathetic to others. It was the internet. The internet became a crutch, a tool that strengthened our country because people could be more productive, more efficient, and more reachable. Americans and the world became busier than ever, much because of this new world at our fingertips. We could even run businesses without ever physically seeing another person for long stretches of time, if ever at all. That eventually evolved into smartphones and social media and now Zoom. Gone are the days of physically hanging around with our friends. Now we can virtually be with them by looking at pictures on Facebook or texting them instead of calling them on the phone. We hardly see each other in person anymore. And that is exactly what the anti-gunners want. American society began to retract from each other. We don't talk to each other as much anymore, face to face. We go out less. And even more recently, we weren't allowed to go out. We also forgot that saying the wrong thing to the wrong people had consequences. We created generations that didn't have to work that hard at all because technology made things easier. Kids are no longer physically held responsible for their words or actions against peers. We spend so much time nowadays vilifying inanimate objects that people rant about in forums or on message boards. Far too many now believe that it is the gun's fault when bad people hell-bent on inflicting violence do horrific things. No longer do we hold people accountable. Instead, we're now quick to make excuses or point the finger, or even worse, legislate based off of the evil deeds of a handful of maniacs. Now we even let violent people out of prison because they might catch the flu. But again, we're just trying to keep everyone safe. What we really have done is made it easier for those who seek to destroy our country. They can influence elections much easier because we, as a society, have become lazy, and we don't want to go all the way to the polling locations to vote. In turn, and far too often, their candidates win. Those candidates then submit unconstitutional bills that their sugar daddies demand. Some states have even been totally flipped on end by this new blueprint. In Virginia, you know this all too well. Michael Bloomberg spent some money and totally changed this great state into a Democrat anti-gun hotbed. Bloomberg and the anti-gunners agenda worked. Now George Soros and the like do the exact same thing by funding violent extremists. These activists aren't like those of us here gathered for the VCDL lobby day. His activists are bussed from all around the country to cause terror, burn buildings, and destroy our communities. They look to intimidate people and make them fear coming outside. In many cases, they make them not want to get out and vote. Who knows? Maybe they even played a role in trying to stop what used to be the traditional style of the VCDL lobby day. But look around, all they did was inconvenience us. How can we stop this speeding locomotive that is laser focused on absolute power? Well, let me first say that we absolutely can stop them. There still is time, but that time is running out. For starters, we need to start voting for constitutional candidates and get our friends and family to do the same. We have to stop being the silent majority. The old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, is correct. It absolutely works. Just reflect on the last couple months, if you need to. That is where we come in. The time is now. Now is the time to talk to your legislators. Now is the time to question your representatives. Now is the time to take our country back. We can absolutely do this, but it will not be easy. Michael Bloomberg and his groups, Every Town for Gun Safety and Moms Demand Action, they're working hard to make sure that the very blueprint that flipped Virginia will flip other states. They have already targeted other states and have already started that process. George Soros and his band of merry anarchists, they are salivating for another opportunity to riot and intimidate, another community to burn down, and more people to scare. See, control is much easier when fear sets in. It is much easier to rule a populace that is in fear. To me, the path is clear. We need to kick these communists out of office one way or another. They need to hear the voices of the very Americans that they chose to ignore for far too long. Look around. Think about our parents and our grandparents. Think of how hard those generations had to work to make this country great. Think of how hard they worked to keep you safe. Now think of your children. We have to do everything in our power to keep them safe. The Virginia Citizens Defense League is doing just that for Virginia. They have fought Ralph Northam and his cronies every single step of the way. The citizens of Virginia, you have stepped up as well with things such as the Second Amendment sanctuary movement. But, Virginians, your work is just beginning. The rapidly approaching 2021 Virginia elections is your chance to replace your anti-gun communist governor, along with many state delegates, and make a statement. Stand strong, be committed, and be heard. You can start by joining the VCDL, like I have, and volunteer where they need help. Support those who support you. As a member of the VCDL, your voice makes us stronger. A stronger voice is exactly what these legislators fear. To those who have ascended onto Richmond, Virginia in support of the Second Amendment, I thank you. I am out there with you in this rolling rally this year. They might have inconvenienced us, but they cannot stop us. Thank you all for your time and attention. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you to the Virginia Citizens Defense League. The team is doing great work. And thank you all for supporting our right to keep and bear arms. I look forward to meeting many of you out there. Be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a weapon. Take care, everybody.